No house should ever be on a hill or on anything. It should be of the hill, belonging to it. So, said Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yes, Andrew. His words reflect his belief in creating architecture that doesn't just stand on land but is a part of it. Kind of a harmony between man-made structures and nature, I'd say.
Yep, that's the essence of organic architecture. Wright's vision. What about you, Paul?
Certainly that's what sets Wright apart, his commitment to creating buildings that don't just sit on nature but blend with it. It's architecture, but it doesn't alienate you. It draws you in.
Absolutely. And there's arguably no better example of this than the Fallingwater House, a house built not just on the hill, but of it.
True that, Andrew. What's unique about the Fallingwater House, aside from the fact that it was built over a waterfall, of course?
Not just that, Abigail. What else can you tell us about it?
I'll have to dive deeper into its construction. But for now, it's breathtakingly beautiful. The use of natural materials and the seamless integration with the surrounding nature, it's awe-inspiring.
And that, my friends, is the beauty of Wright's vision. What a piece of architecture.
Andrew, the Fallingwater House's cantilever design is truly the highlight. It gives the viewer the illusion of the house floating over the waterfall.
You've got me intrigued, Abigail. What's the science behind it?
Fallingwater House defies conventional architecture owing to Wright's use of cantilevers, large beams extending from the house structure, each balanced by a similar weight at its opposite end.
I see. So that's how the rooms seemingly jut out over the waterfall?
Exactly, Paul. And it's quite a feat, really. These cantilevers deliver an unexpected architectural marvel without the need for traditional bulky support structures hidden beneath.
That's astounding. Can you picture it, Paul?
Hard not to. A building on a waterfall with parts of it sticking out in midair feels as wild as a slam dunk in the last seconds of a tiebreaker game.
Couldn't have put it better myself, Paul. But it's not just about the daring design, it's about how Wright's innovative approach uses the cantilevers to incorporate the natural surroundings into the structure, just like he intended.
Ah, the harmony between architecture and nature. Wright really believed in that, didn't he?
He did. Andrew, Wright was never afraid to challenge the norm. He questioned traditional practices and opted instead to evolve with the landscape, a vision far ahead of his time.
What an imagination, and the tenacity to bring it to life.
No doubt he did leave a substantial legacy. But the Fallingwater House, with its ingenious cantilever design and communion with nature, surely stands as a brilliant manifestation of his philosophy.
Let's hone in on the construction aspect of Fallingwater House. Andrew, I think you'll find this interesting. The main challenge was incorporating the waterfall into the house's design. Wright ingeniously overcame this by using rigid frames for the cantilevers instead of flexible, flat, thin steel. But he did so against the advice of his engineers, who were skeptical about the structural integrity of his design. Given his commitment to his concept, Wright chose to take the risk. And the result was, well, rather controversial.
Controversial? You mean it wasn't a success initially?
In many ways, Andrew, yes. From a design perspective, Wright's Fallingwater House was a triumph, a seamless fusion of architecture and nature. But technically, some considered it a failure due to structural instability caused by the daring cantilever design. The house's treasured balconies actually did start sagging over time.
So Wright's headstrong decision could have potentially led to the collapse of the entire structure.
Quite possible, Paul. Thankfully, the house has been reinforced over the years to battle structural problems. But the fascinating part is, despite all the skepticism and the technical hiccups, Wright's faith in his idea never wavered. He broke away from conventional construction methods, implementing techniques that were radical for that era.
That really shows his conviction. He went against the grain to create something unprecedented, without compromising his vision of marrying architecture with nature.
And he started a whole new dialogue in the field of architecture, making Fallingwater House an unforgettable landmark. It's a testimony to his audacity and flair for innovation.
Absolutely, Paul. Wright's Fallingwater House, despite the initial technical difficulties, sent ripples of change in the architecture world. It heralded a transition, a questioning of tradition, and the embracing of new possibilities. The house remains a standing testament to Wright's refusal to conform to norms, his relentless pursuit of the extraordinary. Speaking of Wright's distinctive approach, it encapsulates the essence of organic architecture. This concept, which interestingly enough was brought into existence by Wright himself, aims to blend architecture and nature to exist harmoniously.
Blend, you say? That's intriguing. Are there specific principles guiding this approach?
Absolutely, Paul. The fundamental principle of organic architecture was essentially symbiosis. Wright believed that a building should not only be in harmony with the natural environment, but also with the inhabitants. This takes into account factors like the geographical setting, local materials, and the lifestyle of people who will live in the space. The philosophy extends beyond just the physical structure and delves into ensuring the structure encompasses the philosophies, the cultural practices, and the magnificence of the time it was built. This way, the building tells a much larger story than just being a dwelling or a structure.
Isn't Fallingwater House an ideal example of Wright's organic architecture?
That's perfectly summed up, Andrew. Fallingwater House embodies this philosophy wonderfully. From its seamless integration with the waterfall to the usage of natural elements in construction, Wright let nature shape the design, and not the other way around.
So in a way, Fallingwater House is more than just an architectural marvel. It's Wright's artistic expression of harmony with nature and humanity, a testament to his belief in symbiosis.
Yes, and it's a sentiment that echoes far beyond his time. As modern architecture becomes increasingly aware of the importance of design that respects and yields to its natural surroundings, it keeps turning back to Wright's pioneering vision. That's the legacy of Fallingwater House and Wright's principles of organic architecture.
Abigail, your deep understanding of organic architecture shines through. As our resident engineer, I'm sure it must have influenced how you approach your projects. Can you share more about that?
I'm glad you brought that up, Andrew. It's actually something that stirs me both professionally and personally. You see, when I look at a structure, be it a bridge, a house, or a skyscraper, I don't just see concrete, steel, or wood coming together. I see it as an extension of the builder's soul and the inhabitant's life. Organic architecture, as envisioned by Wright, embodies that notion. The idea that buildings should not simply fulfill a functional need, but narrate a story, reflect the emotions and ideologies of the dwellers, is truly inspiring. Fallingwater House itself is a captivating tale of the Kaufmann family's love for nature, and Wright's unique vision to translate that into a living space. This personal connection that a structure holds is what makes me passionate about my work.
You know, Abigail, hearing you speak with such reverence does make me view these structures we see every day in a different light. I guess we often overlook the emotional depth that architecture can hold.
Indeed, Paul. So next time we walk past a building, let's take a moment to appreciate the stories it might be silently narrating to us.
You know what strikes me about Wright in this house? It's the intertwined relationship between the architecture and nature.
That truly sets Wright apart, doesn't it? The house isn't built on nature, but with it, synchronizing with the setting instead of standing apart. The architecture doesn't dominate the landscape, but is an inherent part of it.
You've nailed it, Andrew. Wright viewed architecture and nature not as distinct entities, but as a harmonious partnership, where one complements the other. Paul, you might recall his famous quote, "Study nature, love nature, stay close to nature. It will never fail you." The Fallingwater House is like a living embodiment of this philosophy.
It's fascinating, Abigail, to think that he could envision such a symbiotic relationship. But I wonder, how does this harmony translate into the design of the house?
Conceptually, Paul, Wright's approach was to design structures that were in harmony with humanity and its environment, a philosophy he called organic architecture. This philosophy was not just about physical appearances, it's about creating the building's character from within. This character permeates every detail inside the Fallingwater House. The stone fireplaces, the sweeping horizontal lines that mimic the landscape's horizontal strata, the steps leading right down into the waterfall. And it's not just about aesthetics either. The distinction between indoor and outdoor is blurred. You step inside but feel as if you're still surrounded by the Bear Run Nature Reserve's serenity. It's a living, breathing entity.
Frank Lloyd Wright, making houses breathe since the 1930s. It truly shows how innovative, daring but harmonious his visions were. Yet this concept, organic architecture, I find it quite intriguing but complex. Wish we had more architects like him nowadays.
Maybe we will, Andrew. Maybe in listening and learning about Wright's philosophy, some budding architect decides to think outside the box, creating structures that complement us and our world. I sure hope so.
Abigail, you touched on Wright's philosophy of organic architecture. It seems so simple, yet so transformative.
It's exactly that, Andrew. Organic architecture, as Wright defined it, isn't just about incorporating natural elements into the design. It's about creating a framework that's seamless with its natural surroundings. It's about drawing influences from the raw, dynamic nature to generate living spaces that are more than just four walls and a roof.
So it's more than just blending a structure with its landscape? It's more about creating a symbiotic relationship between a building and its surroundings?
Yes, Paul. For Wright, the relationship between structure and site wasn't a compromise but a delicately balanced partnership. He yearned to create houses that don't merely sit atop a landscape, but interact with it, engage with it. He imagined dwellings that resonate with the spirit of the place, mirroring its purity, tranquility, its dramatic panache, if need be.
This intricate balance, it's like a dance. The design and nature perpetually in sync, creating a rhythm that's fluid, evolving, truly visionary.
I agree, Andrew. I think that's what makes the Fallingwater House so iconic. It's not just a masterpiece that's aesthetically brilliant, but a house that echoes the whispers of nature. It's a perfect embodiment of Wright's organic architecture, where every facet of the structure, the materials used, the angles, the proportions, everything's a deliberate, conscious choice aligned with the spirit of the surrounding environment.
Absolutely, Paul. Wright's vision was so revolutionary that it reshaped how we perceive architecture, making the Fallingwater House not merely a house by the waterfall, but a living, breathing structure that's an inseparable part of the waterfall, of the hill, of Mother Nature herself. It's interesting how Wright went beyond just creating a structure. His architecture also considered the homeowner's lifestyle. This intricate integration not only makes the architecture more special, but it also gives a unique, personalized touch.
How so? Can you share an example from Fallingwater House?
Sure, Andrew. During the design process, Wright paid great attention to the Kaufmann family's love for nature and their desire for a retreat that blended into the surrounding landscape. This is most evident in the cantilevered terraces that hang precipitously over the stream. The Kaufmanns loved to picnic downstream where they could hear the water's gentle hiss. Wright's design certainly accommodates this.
So Wright's architecture wasn't just about creating visually stunning buildings, but about accommodating the distinctive lifestyle of the residents too. That's personalization taken to a new level.
Exactly, Paul. It's almost as if the family's personality was etched into the structure itself. Imagine waking up to that gentle hiss of the water every morning and lounging on a terrace jutting over the water. It's almost poetic.
I can imagine how this level of personalization would make the residents feel more connected to the house, turning it into more than just a building. It becomes their haven, reflecting their identity.
Yes, Andrew. And isn't that the very essence of a home? A place where you not just live but thrive and find utmost comfort, a space that becomes an extension of yourself and your lifestyle. Wright, through his visionary designs, emphasized this aspect, making architecture a more personal, intimate experience.
So let's delve deeper. We know that Lloyd Wright created an architectural masterpiece with the Fallingwater House, but it was also a residence for the Kaufmann family. Abigail, considering your technical understanding of the structure, what was it about their lifestyle that was incorporated into their home?
Well, Paul, Edgar Kaufmann was a leading department store owner in Pittsburgh. He and his wife Liliane were known supporters of modern architecture. Their son, Edgar Kaufmann Jr., was directly involved in the planning and design stage and served as a connecting point between the Kaufmanns and Wright. The family wanted a retreat connected with nature. Mrs. Kaufmann had a passion for gardening, which influenced the integration of nature into the house's layout and design. Wright ensured ample space for the family's outdoor activities. The fireplaces indoors and outdoors, for instance, were built according to the family's love for open-air cooking and dining.
I've read that the Kaufmanns also had a strong friendship with Wright. and there are letters and oral histories that shed light on their warm relationship. The family trusted Wright's vision, allowing him the freedom to design a home that would fully realize their lifestyle within the built environment, a testament to their mutual respect and understanding.
Indeed, Andrew. The letters exchanged between the Kaufmanns and Wright reveal a lot about their shared commitment to a seamless blend of architecture and nature. This personal aspect makes Fallingwater more than an architectural marvel. It stands as a living testament to an extraordinary collaboration between the architect and the clients.
That's fascinating. It sounds like the Kaufmanns and Wright were in perfect harmony when it came to their vision for the house, as if they were channeling their combined philosophies, passions, and lifestyles into this unique piece of architecture. Credits to Wright. His organic architecture was a perfect fit for the Kaufmann's lifestyle.
It's really impressive how Wright's design of Fallingwater House became an extension of the Kaufmanns themselves. By paying such attention to the homeowner's lifestyle and desires, Wright manifested his definition of home, a place that is uniquely expressive of the people who live there. Defying conventions wasn't new to Wright, was it, Abby?
Far from it, Andrew. Wright was revolutionary in his approach. Combining aesthetic and function was no easy task, especially considering Fallingwater House's unique location.
I'm assuming the cantilever design in a natural setting posed its own set of challenges, right?
Exactly, Paul. Wright wanted the house to blend seamlessly with its surroundings. But the cantilever design presented engineering challenges, primarily due to the weight distribution. The idea was to have the house spring forth from the existing rock, but the weight of the vertical concrete walls needed to be meticulously balanced against the outreaching terraces to prevent a collapse.
Sounds like a puzzle piece that has to fit just right.
It definitely was. And despite the doubts of many, including the project engineer, Wright firmly believed in his design. But as the construction progressed, some alterations had to be made. Additional steel was added to the topmost cantilever to ensure stability.
Sounds like Wright's determination paid off in the end, though.
It did, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. The house had its fair share of issues over time due to some of Wright's experimental techniques. These issues were later addressed during the preservation efforts. It's a testament to Wright's vision that his ideas are still relevant today, and his designs continue to inspire architects and engineers alike.
So, we've discussed the architectural innovations of the Fallingwater House, but Abby, you mentioned the house faced some issues later. Could you elaborate?
Absolutely, Andrew. Over time, due to the experimental techniques used by Wright, the house developed numerous structural issues, including dampness, ground movement, and decay.
And I'm guessing these issues further substantiated the need for conservation efforts?
Exactly, Paul. Like any building, time and environmental conditions took a toll on Fallingwater House. Damage from water intrusion, exacerbated by design limitations and the home's location, required significant work to ensure its structural integrity.
Abby, what were some unique aspects found during the conservation process?
Well, quite a bit of insight was gleaned about the house's construction during the process. For instance, the study of paint layers provided knowledge on the original colours used by Wright, along with their sequences and application techniques. The restoration also unveiled Wright's creative improvisations, like using sandwiched glass strips to seal the gap between the windows.
That's fascinating. I imagine maintaining the integrity of this unique design while addressing its flaws is quite a task.
Undoubtedly, Paul. What mattered most was the embodiment of Wright's vision within the restoration designs. Finding ways to conserve those original intentions while resolving the issues was a journey in itself, but an essential one in preserving this architectural marvel for generations to come. Preserving Fallingwater House wasn't limited to just restoring its physical condition. The aim was to also elevate its aging beauty, honouring Frank Lloyd Wright's vision.
Abby, do you think there's something the restorers consider beyond just the physical upkeep?
Absolutely, Andrew. As restorers, we're also custodians of a narrative. Each structure has its stories, nuances, and history, something Wright truly understood. The goal of conservation goes beyond preserving mere facades or rooms. It means protecting the story they tell and the emotions they carry.
That seems like carrying a pretty heavy responsibility on their shoulders.
Indeed, Paul. Each step in the conservation process reverberates beyond the physical space. Identifying layers of paint, studying construction techniques. It's like peeling back the curtains of time. And often we find more than just material realities. We find fragments of human existence etched in stone, wood and glass.
Like the sandwiched glass you mentioned, Abby.
Yes, Andrew, a mere improvement to seal the windows, but it uncovers Wright's ingenuity in detail. And it's such discoveries that make preservation an enriching experience.
So falling back to Fallingwater, Abby, were Wright's improvisations difficult to conserve?
Well, the innovative nature of Wright's designs did pose challenges, Paul, but they were overcome by marrying modern engineering with an empathetic understanding of Wright's vision. This approach ensured that the Fallingwater House, as we see it today, remains a living testament to Wright's ideology, the Kaufmann family's aspiration, and the spirit of organic architecture.
Now, Abby, given Fallingwater House's popularity, how has it shaped modern organic architecture?
To understand that, Andrew, we need to first grasp Wright's philosophy. He believed every building should be in tune with its natural surroundings.
Wright, of the hill as we earlier quoted him.
Exactly. Wright's design principles have been translated over years by various architects worldwide who embrace the same philosophy.
So you're saying, like Wright, they also designed to harmonize with their surroundings, Abby?
Yes, Paul. The influence is quite profound. Contemporary organic architecture showcases structural elements that respect and reflect the characteristics of their natural setting. For example, the usage of materials native to the region or incorporating nature inside the design.
Do you think Wright imagined his principles evolving this way when he built the Fallingwater House?
Well, we could only speculate. But considering his forward-looking vision, it wouldn't be far-fetched to think he might have. This blueprint he's left us with has certainly evolved and matured, but at its core, the sparking philosophy still rings true in modern architecture and design practice.
And I suppose that's why Fallingwater House is more than just a house. Its impact extends far beyond its walls and the Kaufmann's family history.
So we've seen Fallingwater House offer a blueprint for integrating architecture and nature. Can some of its principles be applied to eco-friendly homes today?
Absolutely, Andrew. While refined materials and technologies weren't available in Wright's time, we now have much advanced methods to bring nature and man-made habitats into harmony. For instance, utilizing green materials, incorporating sustainable energy sources, or imitating natural forms for better airflow are just some of the strategies architects can use today.
And potentially make it more affordable for the average homeowner, Abby?
Indeed, creating a sustainable home need not be an expensive venture. In fact, some green materials and energy-efficient systems, though costly up front, can save homeowners money in the long run with lower utility bills and maintenance costs.
So Wright's idea, in essence, of a home blending into its surroundings isn't just aesthetically pleasing, but also quite practical in today's context?
Yes, absolutely, Paul. It's not just about the structure, but about creating a living space in harmony with its surrounding ecosystem. The kind of architecture we need today should not just serve human needs, but also respect and enhance the environment it occupies.
So the Fallingwater House isn't just an architectural marvel, but a roadmap to better housing solutions for tomorrow. That's quite an inspiration from a structure designed so many decades ago.
As we wrap up, Abby, could you summarize the outstanding architectural achievements incorporated in the Fallingwater House?
Certainly, Andrew. The Fallingwater House showcased Wright's vision of organic architecture, where the built environment seamlessly harmonizes with nature. Its prominent feature, the cantilever design, was game-changing, not to mention the exhaustive attention given to the relationship between the house and its surrounding terrain.
I found particularly fascinating the interplay between this incredible construction and the family who lived there. Do you think, Paul, their collective experiences speak to something larger at play?
Without a doubt. The experience of the Kaufmann family underscores how architecture is not just about brick and mortar, but the crafting of stories, memories, and a sense of belonging. To have your home reflect your family values and lifestyle, that's powerful.
And that's precisely what we aim to celebrate here with our podcast. Every house, every building holds stories, not only of its structural creation, but also the emotion and history residing within its walls.
Which takes us back to Wright's belief, why it rings so true. No house should ever be on a hill. It should be of the hill, belonging to it.
That's right, Andrew. The Fallingwater House isn't just another building. It's a testament to Wright's groundbreaking philosophy, one that continues to inspire architects today.
Well, there we have it. Listeners, we hope that through these episodes you've gained not only a deeper understanding of famous architectural landmarks, but also the human stories associated with them. Thank you all for joining us on this journey of architectural exploration. We're excited to continue discovering more structures and their unique narratives with you. Until next time.